Viewers, now we move to the final talk of this symposium, final session. The speaker is Vidwan Shankararama Sharma ji, and he will be speaking on the topic Swami Vidyaranya's Purāṇasāra, Unveiling Timeless Insights from Puranas. Just a brief introduction. Vidwan Shankararama Sharma ji is a traditional Vidwan and a techno-linguistic scholar at Vyoma Linguistic Labs. He is a dedicated researcher pursuing his PhD at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and a proficient Sanskrit scholar. He was initiated into the teachings of Bhagavad Gita at the age of 4 by his mother, and later he earned the blessings of Jagadgurus of Sringeri and Kanchi in 2013 for memorizing the entire Bhagavad Gita. He has completed his Pravesha exam, Pravesha Sanskrit exam, that is run by Sura Saraswati Sabha of Sringeri. He holds a master's degree in Advaita Vedanta from Karnataka Sanskrit University, and he has been guided by his grandfather Mahamahopadhyay, Dr. Krishnamurti Shastrigal. He is currently engaged in writing Shastra Parikshas of Tenali, and he began his Veda Dhyana under his paternal grandfather Sri Ramalinga Sharma and continues it now under Sri Anantesha Sharma. He has conducted many Ramayana Navahams and Bhagavata Saptahams multiple times, and he routinely delivers discourses in Tamil, Kannada and English. Thank you very much, Shankararama Sharma ji, for making time for this session. We are very fortunate to have you here. Please go ahead and start the session.
Vāgīshādhyāssu manasah sarvārthānām upakrame yam natvā katakatyāssyuh tam namāmi gajananam yontah pravishya mama vāca mimām prasuptām sanjīvayatyakila shakti-dharasvadhamna anyāmscha hasta-charana shravanatvagādīn prāṇānnamo bhagavate puruṣāya tubhyam mūkam karoti vācālam pangum langhayate girin Yatkripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Yatkripatamaham vande Sadgurum Chandrasekharam Matamaho Matarancha Pitarancha Pitamaho Matulancha Gurun Sarvan Vandeham Jnana Siddhaye. Namassarvebhyaha Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvan Vidushaha Pranamya Kinchide Adya Vidyāranyasya Purāṇasāra Granthasya Vishaye Vaktukamosmi. So the topic today has been all about Vidyaranya and his contributions, his immense contributions to our Sanatana Sampradaya that we have. From the morning, we have been listening to many Vidwans talk about various granthas, and a lot of them have been related to philosophy. That is mainly regarding Advaita, or if it is Sarvadarshana-sangraha, and many other things that are related to this. The Purana Granthas are of a different stature. When the Dhyana Shloka for Srimad Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada is Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. So he is an abundant giver of Shruti, Smriti and Purana. So this word Purana is extremely important, and we all know this word Purana. And regionally, it is also used in various ways, especially in Karnataka. Purana heltidane means he is talking about some story, some katha that is being spoken about. So this is how it is generally used in the world. And every place we go to, if we go to a temple, there is a Sthala Purana. How that temple came about, what is the history of the temple, who are the saints who came there. This is what we understand by the words Puranas. Also, those we hear a lot about Pravachanas from Puranas. Mainly these days it is from Srimad Bhagavata Purana, which is quite famous for the stories of Krishna, and little more, maybe few about Vishnu Purana or few others, and Garuda Purana, especially at those times. So these are the certain sampradayas that are there. But as we all know, there are 18 Mahapuranas given by Maharishi Vedavyasa, and then there are 18 Upapuranas. So some of the previous speakers also said from where Vidyaranya has quoted from Puranas and Upapuranas. And all these are an immense grantha. That is, the Puranas themselves say, for example, in many Puranas, this shloka is there, and even Vidyaranya in his own grantha, he gives this. Puranam ekemevasiti tasmin kalpantare naghaha trivarga sadhanam punyam shatakoti pravistaram. Just like Ramayana and Mahabharata, it also says that Purana was 100 crore shlokas were there in the Puranas. Shatakoti pravistaram. But since the people cannot understand or go through that enormous amount of granthas, so Vedavyasa, by his karuna, he compressed all of them to 4 lakh granthas. So Mahabharata itself, we know, is about 1 lakh shlokas. The Puranas put together is about 4 lakh shlokas. Though today we do not get many thousands of shlokas. For example, in Skanda Purana, which is said to be about 1 lakh shlokas by itself, we do not get all the parts of Skanda Purana. We get some bhagas of Skanda Purana. So similarly with few other Puranas. But on the whole, this is the amount that is given originally in the Puranas themselves and even by Vidyaranya. Kalena agrahanam drishtva Puranasya mahattaya chaturlakshena sanshiptam vyasena dvaparantare. So as the days came by, because people could not read through so much, Vyasa did this anugraha of compressing that whole Purana into 4 lakh shlokas, is what Vidyaranya tells us. So this word Purana itself, how the word came about is given within the Puranas themselves, and Vidyaranya, he explains it in his Purāṇasāra. Yasmat pura hyabhuchaitat Puranam tena tat smritam. Because these things happened some time ago, and now they are useful in some way of teaching, that is why these are called as Puranas. Pura hyabhut. They happened some time ago, and this has been written down. This is what is given in Brahmanda Purana. Also, as we were saying, all the great jnanis who were there in our parampara, where we took an example, since we are talking about Vidyaranya himself and that whole Guru Parampara that is there, they have all given great importance to Purana. And that is also there. Anandagiri, who is assumed to be Shankaracharya Shishya himself, he has written Tikas for Gita Bhashya, Brahma Sutra Bhashya, and many other things. In his Gita Bhashya, Ananda Tirtha, he says, Yadi Vidyat Chaturvedan Sangopanishado Dvijaha Nachet Puranam Samvidyat Naiva Sasyat Vichakshanaha. Even though a person might know all the 4 Vedas, along with its 6 Angas, and along with the meanings of the Vedas, if he does not know the Puranas, if he has not perused the Puranas, Naiva Sasyat Vichakshanaha, he cannot be considered as a wise man. Why should this be the case? Because everywhere in the Puranas it says, Vedam Samupa Brahmayet Purana Itihasabhyam Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Samupa Brahmayet. The Vedas are quite terse, and not everyone has the adhikara to learn the Vedas. And even if you go to learn the Vedas, it is not easily understandable. You cannot get your practical life teachings directly from the Vedas. You need a guru who guides you. So the rishis themselves have given the Puranas in the form of stories so that the dharma in the Veda can be put into direct practice. You listen to the story, you have an ideal in front of you, you create an ideal. So this is the person I want to have in mind. And then from those ideals, you cultivate the practices in your life. That is how the whole of Puranas come about. There also as the Sara of the Puranas. So Puranas, as we saw, is 4 lakh granthas. So we do Ramayana Parayana, Bhagavata Parayana, which are 18,000, 24,000 verses. But even Mahabharata is not there in Parayana Krama because it is so huge. How would someone read through the whole of the Puranas? So it is almost impossible to do that. In a lifetime, we cannot, even if a person manages to read the whole of the Puranas, what is it that the Puranas convey is somewhat very difficult to understand. So that is why we need an Acharya Purusha like Vidyaranya to take out the Purana and give its juice to us. Sara is juice. So he has taken all the Puranas, and the way we put that sugar cane inside the machine and get out only the juice, similarly he has taken out all the juice that was within this, and he has given it in this grantha called Purāṇasāra. So that grantha of Purāṇasāra itself is 84 chapters. So if you can see this book, I don't know if you are able to see this book. So this book is quite huge if you can see. So there are 2 volumes like this of the Purāṇasāra itself. It seems to be like the magnum opus in terms of volume for Vidyaranya. So he has written 84 chapters of verses. So many of these verses have been taken from the Puranas themselves. So he, as we saw, what is the Sara of Purana? Sara of Purana, Vivekananda himself says in one of his talks, he says, these Puranas, the main aim for them is bhakti. Where we go and end up. For the common mass that is there, for the common general people, the philosophy will not always capture their mind. Whatever kind of philosophy it be, if we talk about Advaita, the amount of intellectual capacity required to do the manana, the nididhyasana, even for the Shravana to go inside, as the previous speakers were saying, there needs to be a level of Chitta Shuddhi for Shravana. If the Chitta Shuddhi is not there, that Shravana will not have the desired effect. For that Chitta Shuddhi to be acquired, what we require is Bhakti. And that Bhakti is the main aim of all the Puranas. For Bhakti to be there in Bhagavan, for you to have that extreme devotion to Bhagavan, you need a disciplined life all through. The discipline in life is extremely important. From morning to night, what should be done? What are the things I should do? What are the things I should not do? So these are some simple rule books that need to be given to the general people. Only if these kinds of rules are given, it is easy to follow. If you say Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, how can I do Atma Vichara? What is? So these are questions that keep coming even for sadhakas. Again and again, these questions arise within us. But if you give a clear rule book and say, this is the time, this is what you have to do, and next you can do this. Prataha, so there is a shloka which says, morning you start with Vedanta Vichara. Then in the afternoon, you can talk about the dice games. In the late evening, you can talk about the person who kidnapped the woman. And at night, you can talk about the Chora Katha. So this is what the shloka says. What it means is in the morning, you start with Vedanta Vichara. Then you listen to Mahabharata Katha. Then you listen to Ramayana Katha. Then in the night, you do Manana of Bhagavata Katha and you go to sleep. So this is the way the life has to be. That achara should be there in our life. So these are the points that have to be taken out of the Puranas and given to us. So that is how Vidyaranya organizes his whole Purāṇasāra. He begins with many Devata Stutis and he begins about all the Purana Sankhya, how many Puranas are there, how many shlokas are there, who wrote the Puranas. And the whole style of this book is also very similar to Puranas themselves. All the Puranas, if we see, it is Romaharshana who is talking to the rishis who have assembled in Naimisharanya to do their yajna. It's either Romaharshana or his own son Suta, who are talking these Puranas to their sons. Similarly, this Purāṇasāra also, Vidyaranya has taken the same style, and Romaharshana is the one who is telling this Purāṇasāra to all the rishis who have assembled there in that place. So as he goes about telling this, we have to understand those dharmas that is there in the Purana. Everywhere, whichever Purana you take, for example, Bhagavata is the most well-known Purana. People might have read it, people might have heard about it. So the idea of Bhagavata is Advaita Jnana. But how does it give that Advaita Jnana? It is like you take a small, wonderful flower, you take a nice needle and poke it slightly into the flower, it goes in very easily. Similarly, it is a lot about many stories that attract people and a wonderful dharmas, and that Advaita Ekatma Jnana is given like that easy injection through those Kathanakas itself. And then what does it come to? It says in this Kali Yuga, the dharma is only Nama Sankirtana that you have. So like this, Vidyaranya in his Purāṇasāra, he says, he describes chapter by chapter, he comes with dharmas. So the first half is all about various dharmas, the Varna dharmas, the Ashrama dharmas, the Yuga dharma, and so on. So while coming to Kali Yuga dharma, which is what we all require currently, so we will come to our own this thing. He says, and in Kali Yuga, what would each of the Varnas be doing? He goes on to explain. That he says, Veda Vikraginascha Tirtha Vikraginah Pare Tapo Yajna Phalanancha Vikretaro Dvijottamaha. So whatever is happening today, he explains. Veda Vikraginascha. Those who have read the Vedas, those who have memorized the Vedas, and those who are to be Purohitas, they are all doing business with Veda. So they put a cost on Veda and they are having a business around it. Vikrainaha. Tirtha Vikrainah Pare. Some others have commercialized the Tirtha places of Tirtha. Wherever we go for Tirtha Yatra, there they are doing business. For the sake, for those who come to Tirtha Yatra, business is going on. That is how it has become. Tapo yajna phalanancha vikretaraha. If somebody does tapas, that itself becomes kind of a business. I will do this tapas for you and you talk over money over that. Yajna phala. If somebody does a yajna, it is again about business. So everything has become about money and nothing else. It is all has become transactional. There is no altruistic motive behind any of this. Vikretaraha, he says, Dvijottamaha. Even the Uttama Dvijas of this day will be doing this only. That's what he means. Could have just said Dvijaha. This Dvijottamaha. Even the greatest of Dvijas will be doing this kind of a business with the knowledge that they have. Vikretaro Dvijottamaha. So what is it that we all can do? Dhyayan krite yajan yajnaihi tretayam dvaparerchayan yada proti tada proti kalau sankirtya keshavam. Dhyayan krite. In the Krita Yuga, dhyana is the way. So these are some shlokas he has taken directly from the Puranas. Yajan yajnaihi dvapare, the tretayam. In Treta Yuga, the way you worship Bhagavan is by great yajnas, by doing the yajnas properly. That is how you worship Bhagavan and attain moksha. Dvapare archayan. In Dvapara you do puja, great puja vidhis. In Kali Yuga, what can you do? Yada proti tada proti. In these three yugas, whatever you would get by doing these kind of karmas, the same phala you will get. Sankirtya keshavam. By just doing bhajana of Bhagavan, you will get the same amount of phala. That is why this Nama Japa is extremely important in Kali Yuga. The Nama Japa that we do has to happen within us. It has to continuously, with a discipline, it has to always happen. That Sankirtya Keshamam is what we can always do in this Kali Yuga, which has to be increased more and more. Like this, he goes on about Kali Yuga Dharma, and then he comes to Varnashrama Dharmas. In Varnashrama Dharma, he talks about all the 4 Varnas, all the 4 ashramas, and then he comes to Sadachara. Sadachara is extremely important, which is what we saw in the beginning, is about discipline. This is applicable to everyone. That is, this is called Sadharana Dharma also. The Sadharana Dharma, the Sadachara that is there, in Vishnu Sahasranama itself, at the end it comes, Achara Prabhavo Dharmaha Dharmasya Prabhurachyutaha. The Dharma itself that is holding us is because of Achara. How do we understand Dharma? Dharma does not come to us because it is written in the books. It comes by Achara, because we see our parents doing, because we see our grandparents doing, because it is there in our family tradition. That is how we learn Dharma. Dharma cannot be learned theoretically by reading from the books or just by teaching. Teaching is an aid for this Achara. If an Achara, if you do not know how to do and you get that Shraddha, then you can go back and refer. But if you do not have that Shraddha at all, then there is no use of having multiple smritis and books. So all the various smritis that are there, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, everything Vidyaranya has comprised into this. By saying Puranas, it is not only the 18 Puranas and Upapuranas. He has taken Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Kathanaka, various stories from everywhere to illustrate his points. All the points he illustrates. Wherever he talks about something, he illustrates using the kathas from those particular places. So the Sadachara that we talk is Dainandina Vyavahara. The everyday practices that we have is called Sadachara. So that starts with the from the morning itself, from the time you get up, Shaucham, Dantadhavanam, Snanam, Ityadi. So he says the Shaucham is external cleanliness of the body, which is required for everyone. So why is the Sadachara there? Whenever we do, why should these be told in the Puranas? Whatever we do, it should be Bhagavad Arpana. Always think of Bhagavan is the idea behind all this. Whenever you get up, when you get up, you think of Bhagavan. You think of your own Ishta Devata, whoever the Devata be. So in the end, he goes across all the Devatas. He says, Ganapati Bhakti Nirupanam, Shri Shiva Bhakti Nirupanam, Devyaha Durga Bhakti Nirupanam, Saraswati Bhakti Nirupanam, Vishnu Bhakti Nirupanam, Surya Bhakti Nirupanam, Skanda Bhakti Nirupanam. He has a chapter each for each of the Devatas. For whichever is your Ishta Devata, you go to that chapter, you take the Kathanaka related to that and have that ideal in your mind. If you have Vishnu as your Ishta Devata, have Prahlada as your ideal. If you have Shiva as your Ishta Devata, have the Nyayamala as your ideal. Have the great other Bhaktas as your ideal. So for each Bhakti, you need that ideal. And that is what Vidyaranya gives in his Purāṇasāra, using those kathas behind them. So for every action that we do, we need to think of that Bhagavan. We have to say this action is an arpana to him. How do we do that? So if there is a shloka for everything, if you get up in the morning and you have to do shaucha, there is a shloka for that. And there is also rules regarding that. So whenever you do that, you will remember Bhagavan again. Yeddiva vihitam shaucham tadardham nishikirtitam tadardham ature proktam aturasyardham adhvanim. So yeddiva vihitam shaucham. Whatever is the cleanliness you maintain during the day, from the time you have bath to night you go to sleep, tadardham nishikirtitam. At night you can have only half the shaucha, half the cleanliness. You are allowed that having only half the cleanliness. Tadardham ature proktam. If you are deceased or if you have some fever, something, you are not able to do much, then quarter of that, tadardham, whatever was there in the night, half of that is enough for atura. So if somebody is in the bed who is resting, then you just do, you take the cloth and wipe themselves. They do not go and have a bath themselves. So when the Shastrakaras make the rules, they give exceptions and they see to that that you should be able to follow something, whatever be your status. That is what we call as adhikaritva. Tadardha mature proktam aturasya artham adhvani. So when you are on travel you cannot take care of all the acharas. So tadardham, whatever is there for a person who has some disease, half of that is enough for one who is on travel. So that is 1/8 of the achara, whatever has been said, at least that you must take care of. Of these acharas, achamana has been given extreme importance. So whatever you think, if you think you have done something which degrades your achara, go immediately and do achamana. This achara is taking a lot of hit these days because the family traditions, the way we used to hold on to them, has taken a hit. That is why these books are required. When family tradition takes a hit, you go back to the book and you try to revive them using these acharas. What we see that everybody at home, they have their own acharas. If you should go to the puja room, you have a certain decorum that you follow, that you should at least wash your hand and feet while going there. If you have to light the lamp, there is a certain achara. If you have to do shraddha, there is a certain achara. And there are 3-4 chapters devoted to shraddha by Vidyaranya. In the Shraddha Prakaranam, he goes on to say the punya of the shraddha, what and all should be done for the shraddha, how care should be taken, and all these he explains there. All these are related to that sadachara. So that is why he brings that sadachara at the first. So somehow or the other, the sadachara must be followed, whatever be the case. Shauche yatna sadakaryaha shauchamulo dvijasmritaha. Shauche yatnaha sadakaryaha. So you have to try to be clean always, because your whole, the dvijatva itself comes because of shaucha. Shauchachara vihinasya samasta nishphala kriyaha. If this achara and shaucha is not there, then all whatever else you might be doing, all nishphalaha kriyaha, where whichever other karma might be there, they will not give the intended result. They might give very little result that is possible. So that is the importance of shaucha. So at every place, if this is said, then that Bhagavat Smriti will keep coming back again and again. Ayurbalam yasho varchaha prajah pashu vasunicha brahma prajnam cha medham cha tvanno dehi vanaspate. This is a shloka for Danta Dhavana. While brushing your teeth in the morning, so usually they used to brush with this neem stick or one of those, any mango stick or something like that, which was used for brushing the teeth. He says this is the shloka that has to be said while brushing your teeth. Then you have two things. One, you are thinking of Bhagavan, that doing a brushing your teeth itself is an arpana to him, that karma, as well as a prayer to the nature. The nature is the one that has given you that neem stick or mango stick for you to brush. So it is a pranama to nature. And that way you always have the nature behind your mind, instead of become absolutely consumerist and not caring about what is happening to the prakriti around us. We always have nature in our mind by saying Tvanno dehi vanaspate. Then he moves on to Sandhya Vandanadi karma. The Sandhya Vandana is there for everyone. All Varnas and Ashramas must perform Sandhya Vandana in one way or the other. Many have now lost because of their parampara. They do not know what their Sandhya Vandana is. For each one, their parampara itself, there are clear delineations for how Sandhya Vandana should be done. If you do not know because of your family traditions, then at least there are a couple of stotras towards Aditya, for Aditya Devata, which you can tell and give arghya, which everyone must be doing. So this is also a part of that Sadachara itself. This doing Trikala Sandhya Vandana is a part of Sadachara. That is how he looks at it. For Dvijas, it might be Gayatri Upasana. For those who do not have Upanayana, even for everyone, there is Sandhya Vandana that is there. Even recently by the Kanchi Acharyas, there was a small leaflet that was released to say how everyone can do Sandhya with those two verses by just giving arghya. The Sandhya Vandana is about meditating on your Ishtadevata at those particular points of time so that you do not lose contact with that. Again, this is the discipline. These are all parts of Yama and Niyama, the Ashtanga Yoga that we have, which again Vidyaranya deals with in a separate chapter of all the Ashtanga Yoga and its level for us to lead to Vedanta Vichara. This all comes within Yama and Niyama. When we follow the discipline, that is how we get into a certain rail. This whole of dharma that is there is like a railway track for us to proceed towards the Chitta Shuddhi and attain our final goal of moksha. So that is why after explaining all these various dharmas, then he will come to the Vedanta Vichara, which various Panditas have explained for the morning. And the Purana, the ideal and the aim of Puranas is also towards this Vedanta. But you should have all this railing should be well fixed. The dharma, artha and kama should be within dharma, which is what Vyasa also says. Tasmat dharma, arthascha kamascha. From dharma comes artha and kama. If you are able to follow this dharma, then you will get artha and kama, and finally moksha is in your hands. Karatala badaravat. Dharma arthascha kamascha sa kimartham na sevyate. He cries in Mahabharata. Urdhvabahuhu viromnyesha nacha kaschit srinoti me. I am lifting up my hands and shouting at the top of my lungs. Dharmat arthascha kamascha. If you want artha, if you want wealth, possessions, if you want to fulfill all your desires, follow the path of dharma, follow the path of dharma, he says again and again. Sa kimartham na sevyate. What can I do? People are not taking that path at all. When such granthas are there, it is quite easy to follow your own swadharma. Again, Vyasa, he says, dharmam prasangadapi nacharanti, papam prayatnena samacharanti, ascharyametadhi manushya loke, amritam parityajya visham pibanti. Dharmam prasangadapi nacharanti. Dharma is quite simple to follow. You do not require great things to do dharma. But if you have to do papa, then you have to plan a lot so that whatever you think is the result of that papa, it should not come and boomerang upon you. So that is how you have to plan. But these people plan and do papa. Papam prayatnena samacharanti. Dharma, even if it is simple, they do not just do it. Doing Sandhya Vandana is very simple. Keeping the Sadachara is very simple. But they do not do. They are letting the nectar go waste, and instead they are buying and eating poison. That is what Vyasa says. So this Sandhya Vandana should be done by everyone, and the Sadachara should always be followed. And the Samanya Dharma he comes to, which Dharma that everyone can follow. Brahmacharya mahimsa cha, Shama shaucham daya damaha, santoshaha satyamastikyam, dharmasya dharmas sadharanohyayam. Brahmacharyam ahimsa. These are all part of the niyama itself, which is there in that yoga, in the Ashtanga yoga that we have. All these are part of yamas and niyamas. That is what is sadharana dharma for everyone that has to be followed. Whether you have bhakti or not, whether you believe in God or not, and all this apart, whatever darshana, whatever this you might be, this is the sadhara dharma which defines us as a sanatana dharmi. What is the basic for sanatana dharma, if you ask? Bharati Tirtha Mahaswamigal also, he has said in one of his talks that these are the dharmas. This is the sadhara dharma that everyone must follow. Brahmacharyam ahimsa cha. Brahmacharyam, having that control over senses. That is brahmacharya. Ahimsa, wherever necessary, everywhere there should be ahimsa. For those it is necessary. Kshama is forbearance. Whatever somebody might do, the titiksha, kshama is required. Shaucham, we saw the importance of shaucham, cleanliness. Daya, compassion towards everyone. And damaha, a control over our own mind is damaha. Santoshaha, being happy come what may. There are two things that causes dukkha. So one is something that we cannot do anything about. If we have Vyadhi, the Vyadhi comes. So Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, these are causes of dukkha. We are not going to be able to do anything towards them, but we can always change our reaction. Our reaction towards that is what causes santosha or dukkha. If our reaction is stabilized, then we will always be in that santosha. Whatever happens, keep your mind pleasant. Santoshaha, satyam, astikyam. Truthfulness, honesty is extremely important. And astikyam, a shraddha in the Vedas. Dharma sadharanohyayam. This is the sadharana dharma that is necessary. Even out of all these dharmas, if you ask me, sarveshameva varnanam dharmanam satyameva vishishyate. Out of all these dharmas, satya is the most important. Because of this satya only, we do puja to so many today. Because they held on to honesty. Mahabali held on to honesty, what may, even though Bhagavan himself is coming in front of him and asking him for dana through a method, even then he holds on to his satya. Why is Ramo called Ramo Vigrahavam Dharmaha? We talk about Rama because he is a Satya Sandha. That is why when Lakshmana leaves his arrow against Indrajit, he says, Dharmatma Satya Sandhascha Ramo Dasharathir Paurushecha Apratidvandvaha Sharainam Jahiravanim. This arrow should kill Ravani, that is Indrajit, if Rama is Dharmatma and Satya Sandha. These are two adjectives. Talk about Dharma, talk about Satya. The Upanishad also talk about the same thing. Satyam vada dharmanchara. These are two things that are necessary. Sarveshameva varnana. So to talk about the Satya, Vidyaranya takes an example of a story from the Purana. There is a cow called a Bahula Dhenu. So she is with a group of cows are there. They have gone to graze somewhere. This cow, she has a young child also. It's a calf, a newly born calf that is there, which is still drinking milk from its mother. By mistake, she gets lost. She goes away from the herd somewhere and she gets lost in the forest. There she goes and meets a tiger. And the tiger is extremely hungry. The tiger is going to eat her and she starts crying profusely. The tiger stops for a moment and takes a pause and asks her, "Why are you crying?" She says, "I am not crying for myself. One who is born has to die someday. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu," she says. But I have a young child and this putra sneha that is there, I weep for him, that young child, my calf that is born. He is still drinking milk from me. He will not have any support and he will not know where I went. And this separation will cause him immense grief. So I want to go meet him once and come back. Can you please give me permission? The tiger asks, "Do you think I am a fool to allow you to go? You will tell such a nice reason and you might go. Then what will happen of me? I am the one who is hungry here." And then she gives a long list of shapatha. She says, "I promise that I will come back. If I do not come back, may these different ways of papas come to me. May the Brahmahatya papa come, may the other papa come." The way Bharata does his shapatha to Kausalya, similarly she does one this Bahula Dhenu, she does one shapatha to Vyagra, and she comes, she gives milk to this young calf and she gives an upadesha to him, and then she returns back to the tiger. Seeing the Satya, the tiger is also extremely pleased and he lets her go. And the tiger was a tiger due to a previous shapa, and the whole story ends wonderfully well. So this is the greatness of Satya that has been explained. So this is how the Dharma and Satya has been explained. And this is the Sara of the Puranas. So when we say Purāṇasāra, the whole of Dharma and Satya, when it is there, then it leads you on the whole path towards that Advaita Jnana, which is the end aim of, end goal of everything. So in yoga, when we say, this is a part of that Yama and Niyama. So Mahatma was there. They said, when somebody went to the Mahatma, they said, "I am practicing yoga." And he said, what is the yoga you are practicing? I want to start from asana, samadhi. I want to read samadhi using dhyana. Mahatma asked them, in Hindi it works very well. Ashtang Yog सीखना चाहते हो या विकलांग योग सीखना चाहते हो? So if you let this yama and niyama go, then the remaining part of the yoga abhyasa becomes vikalanga. You are forgetting the main achara and sadachara that is there. May this lead to Bhagavad Bhakti towards our own Ishta Devatas, and may we all have the grace of reading such Puranas and have Bhaktas as our ideal in our lives. Hara Hara Namah Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva Namo Namah Sadgurubhyaha Sadgurubhyo Namo Namah.
Thank you very much for a very excellent, very fascinating session. I think this is a less studied text, Purāṇasāra of Swami Vidyaranya. But I hope more and more people will take a study of this after listening to this lecture. A wonderful lecture. Thank you very much. Viewers, you have been with us since morning, listening to all the great Vidwans and scholars on various texts, various literary contributions of Swami Vidyaranya. But now we come to a conclusion. All the sessions are over now. I think for me personally, listening to all these talks, I'm still overwhelmed by the greatness and the width and depth of the work of single person such as Vidyaranya. In our last symposium, we saw a similar thing happening with Vachaspati Mishra. Before that, with Appaya Dikshita. These are all very great stalwarts, great Vidwans, great Acharyas who spent their whole life dedicated to this Sanatana Jnana Parampara, the Sanatana Shastra Parampara. And these talks, understanding the works of these great acharyas also must imbibe in us, must develop in us a similar interest to engage with our text to some extent, to whatever extent possible for us, because we have this heritage, we have received this great heritage, knowledge heritage, in the form of all these Vidyasthanas, and we should make full use of it in our own lives. With this note, I conclude this session, and please follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates about our new other programs that we continuously do. With this, I conclude. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.